Elizabeth Chappell, a lifelong entrepreneur who finally found my niche. After years of new ideas and jumping from business to business, I figured out how to turn a craft into a successful career. In 2016, I started a monthly subscription box for quilters. That little startup has grown into a thriving, multiple six-figure business that I am so proud of. As a published author, designer of fabrics and patterns being sold throughout the world, my favorite thing to do is to teach others how to grow a career of their dreams. Each week, you'll hear from me or from other guests who are creative entrepreneurs, so you can learn exactly what to do and what not to do to grow a career that's more rewarding and successful than you ever thought possible. If you're ready to turn your craft into a career that you love, I am so excited you're here. Welcome to the Craft to Career podcast. Welcome back to the Craft to Career podcast episode. This is part 2 of a 2-part series, and I'm really diving into something that I'm learning and working on with a business coach that I'm working with right now, Lindsay White, who was a guest a few weeks back on the podcast. And we're really working on some groundbreaking things for me, and I'm excited to share them with you. But before we dive in, first of all, thank you so much. We are getting close to 300 reviews on the podcast, and I'm very excited about that. That is my next goal, is to get to 300 reviews on the podcast. Right now we're at 279. One more will be at 280, which is closer and closer to 300. If you've not left a review yet for the podcast, please take just a second to do that. This really does help the podcast to survive. This is the metric that helps the podcast to be found by other people. And it's really what drives me to keep doing this. This is how I know that people care, that people listen. So if you enjoy the podcast, this is your way of letting me know, is by leaving a review for the podcast. So take just a moment to do that. And I also want to say thank you. A couple of episodes ago, I did a whole episode on running a business with depression. And I have gotten such an outpour of support. There have been emails and DMs, and they have run, the gamut from like, I don't have depression, but I really love the suggestions that you give on running a business that's a little more automated, where I don't have to be hands-on all the time, to people who are saying, hey, thank you so much. Like, you actually have really helped me grow a business that I'm proud of, that is successful in its own way, and just thank you for all that you're doing. It means a lot to people who also are struggling. And I just want to say, I know I've gotten some emails, and part of coming out from depression is this feeling of overwhelm. I've not responded to those emails. And so this is my way of acknowledging and saying thank you, and really working my way through that feeling of overwhelm that accompanies the depression. So I've seen every single one of you who has reached out, and it really means the world. And so thank you. I really, really appreciate it. It means the world to me. And then second, I just wanted to share something that has been so cool. So, I've been sharing a little bit about, what do I do next? Do I evergreen the course? Well, the quilt pattern writing course, we just had our graduation ceremony, and it was very eye-opening for me. I loved it. I was able to, so for the graduation ceremony, for those of you listeners who don't know what that is, at the end of the quilt pattern writing course, all of the students who have taken the course are able to submit their quilt pattern cover. And on this last graduation ceremony, if they were on the call and I showed their cover, I said, hey, come on and tell us a little bit about your design and, what inspired you and all of that. And it really fed my soul. Hearing from my students, seeing their face, seeing the designs, connecting on a personal level, I was like, aha, this piece, this is what lights me up. I cannot take that out of my business. I need to have that human connection. So I'll be touching on that a little bit more in this episode, but it became very, very apparent to me that I can't take that out and that I need to incorporate more of that in my business because that fuels me and brings me so much joy. So that was exciting, and I wanted to share that. And then third, just last night, we went to a holiday performance at my youngest's. He's in 7th grade, but he goes through like a kindergarten through 8th grade school. They had a holiday performance, and all the grades, they go up and do a little song. And I think it was a 2nd grader. He was up singing a little song with his whole 2nd grade class, and he was up front and center. And I mean, it was just a beautiful, fun little performance anyhow, but this one particular child was just loving the performance. He had such a smile on his face, and he didn't care. He was not having a reservation in the world. He wasn't embarrassed about what anyone thought about him. He loved the song. The arms were up and he was performing and singing, and it just made me smile. It made me want to just embrace that feeling and just be 100% me and do everything that I love and just live my life that way, which kind of taps into that feeling of the graduation ceremony and the things that really bring me joy. And so we'll talk a bit more about that as we dive into part 2, but just some things I wanted to touch on and bring up as you're thinking about your business. Think about those feelings of like, man, that is just so fun. I love this. I just feel so free and me. And I just want to be me. And I don't care what anyone else thinks. I feel so much joy from this. Think about that in regards to your business and how you can tap into that and just own you and your uniqueness and your joy and have the freedom to just run with that. And the joy that brings, So, all right, with that, let's jump into our inner sage. So last episode, we talked about our saboteurs. So the saboteurs are the thoughts in our minds that bring us stress and doubt and fear. And this week, we're going to talk about our inner sage. So the inner sage is the part of us that embodies our deepest wisdom, our compassion, and our strength. And we're going to talk about how to really discover and tap into that, what it looks like. These are the teachings of Shirzad Chamine. And I have learned these from my coach, my business coach, Lindsay White. And I want to share them with you because as I'm learning them and really tapping into them, it's a game changer. And I did ask my coach, because we've met a few times since I've been recording these episodes. I was like, are you just living this elevated life, like you don't struggle with anything? And she laughed. She's like, nobody is, not even Shirzad, the point of this life it's to learn how to strengthen our muscles, our inner sage muscles. But anyhow, so no one has arrived at this elevated plane, where we don't struggle in life, but it's to learn how to cope with the saboteurs when they show up, because they will throughout our lives forever. They never, ever disappear, but it's to learn how to cope with them when they do show up. So that was, not to sound like, oh, they never go away, how depressing, but it's like, no, you haven't failed because they're showing up. That's part of the journey. I guess it's more of a, don't worry, you're normal. It's not that you failed, it's you're normal, So with that in mind, let's remember that the saboteurs show up, that's all right, but we want to tap into our inner sage. So Let's talk about what that is. The inner sage, it's just a beautiful perspective. The sage sees challenges and obstacles not as threats, but instead, these are opportunities for us to grow and to discover. And isn't that beautiful? Because challenges do come along, it's part of life. But instead of like, oh no, or any of the negative talk, it's like, okay, awesome. I get to grow right now. And it holds the belief that there is a hidden gift in every circumstance, even when there is a hard thing happening. So that I would way rather look at life that way. But it's not natural. It's not always natural. So there are 5 sage powers, and we're going to talk about those 5 powers right now. I'll go through each 5, and then we're going to talk about how to tap into those powers. What are some things you can do to like actually bring those powers and bring them to your brain, because it's not natural. So number 1, sage power number 1, to have empathy. So you're accessing this deep compassion, both for yourself and for other people. Number 2 is to explore. So we approach situations with curiosity and openness. Number 3 is innovate. We're innovative. We're thinking creatively and we find solutions. Number 4 is to navigate. We're aligning our actions with our deeper purpose and values. And that's an exciting one. You know, I've talked about with like, oh, this really brings me joy, or that little boy who was just singing and performing on the stage, to just really tap into those things that align with your deeper joy and your purpose and your why. That's number 4, your navigation. Number 5 is to activate, taking decisive action with clarity and focus. So, all right, we have these saboteurs that come up in our mind. We've got, the judge, the stickler, whatever might come up in our mind. We actually need to do something to quiet these saboteurs before we can tap into our inner sage. So let me go through a few practices that we can do that I've been working on myself. And then, we can bring these sage powers. The most powerful exercise for me is a mindfulness anchor. And I've actually heard of this years ago, but really it's to bring our senses to the present. Like, I don't know why this is so powerful, but I think I've heard something like when we're stressed, we're thinking about the future, and when we're anxious, we're thinking about the past. I don't know if that's true, but it sounds kind of cool. So anyhow, when we bring our senses to the present, it just helps anchor us. So here are some tangible things that you can do to help with that. You can focus on your breath. So if you start paying attention to the sensation of the air that's entering your nostrils, like literally just start breathing and focus on your nostrils and think about the air going in and out of your nostrils. And if that is too abstract or too out there, then count your breath. You can count in for 1 second, hold your breath for 1 second. It's a 4-second rep that you're doing here. 4-second, rep is not the right word. 4-second activity. You can repeat it as many times as you want, but you breathe in for 1 second, hold your breath for 1 second, breathe out for 1 second, hold your breath out for 1 second, and then just repeat that. And that gives you something for your brain to focus on. You're focusing on counting, and then you're breathing, So that is your breath focus. There's also touch sensation. You just rub your fingertips together and you just focus on the ridges of your skin, on your actual fingertips, and rub, first of all, your thumbs and your fingertips together, and just close your eyes and just notice the sensation of your fingertips and how you can feel each of those little ridges touching. And then move to the thumbs and the middle fingers and do each one of your fingers. And these exercises that we're doing, they are just bringing your senses to the present, because our brains can only focus on one thing at a time. And if we're focusing on our breath or on our touch, then all of a sudden you can't be focusing on the stress of whatever it was that you were thinking about, a second ago. And then the third one that you can do that's also a sense is sound awareness. So if you close your eyes and you focus on sounds, everything that you can hear, whether it's immediately right in the room or whatever sound, if it's outside, whatever, that's close or nearby. The sound one is a little bit harder for me because my brain tends to still wander. For me, the breath and counting and the touch sensation is a little bit more powerful for my brain, but you may find the sound awareness to be a little bit more powerful. It just depends. Give those a try. But the purpose of these are just little short bursts of focused attention, and it quiets those saboteurs and it creates a space for you to have a sage thought moment so that you can open up room for the sage to come in. So that's the first one that's really powerful. And that is just the mindfulness anchor to have focused attention. The next thing that you can try to really quiet the saboteur is to have a reframe. So when something goes wrong, now these next ones, when I'm really in a saboteur state of mind, and I've done this with my business coach, and it needs to be the right person, okay? Like if it's some, I don't know, I'll give an example in a minute when I can think of it, but it needs to be the right person, because if it's the wrong person, I'll be like, oh, shut up or whatever, and you'll know what I mean in a minute. But okay, reframe challenge. When something goes wrong, ask, what is the hidden gift or opportunity in this situation? How could this help me grow, learn, or develop strength? And then write down 3 ways that this challenge could actually benefit you. So this takes being pretty mature, because sometimes when you're not, it takes some humility for you to take a situation that you're really frustrated about and to sit down and train your mind to look for positives that could come from it. And it's actually a really good exercise, especially if your brain is naturally like, I'm sorry, there is no positive from this. To sit there and make yourself think, how could I actually grow from this? What kind of opportunity could come from this situation? So an example might be you've lost your job. Okay, what hidden gift or opportunity might come from this? Maybe I'll find a better job. Well, I really hated my boss anyhow. Now I don't need to be around them anymore. I mean, you'd have to sit there and think of, I have more time now to be with my family. There we go. There's 3 things right there. So to really sit there and make yourself think of the benefits, it's a really great way to train your mind. It will become more instinctive for you to start looking at the positives, but until it is instinctive, you sit down and challenge yourself to reframe. So that is the reframe challenge. Next is kind of similar. It's the 3 gift exercise. So this is where you find multiple positives in any situation. So you're going to think of a challenge that you're facing and list 3 gifts or opportunities that could come from it. So again, this is training your mind to default to the sage perspective, even in adversity. And so you can see that this is really about, a lot of times we just assume that the way that our brains are thinking is the way that it is. That's just how it is. Our brains are going to think that way, or because so many people think that way, it's fact. That's just not the case. Okay. So then another activity that you can do is pause and then act with clarity and focus. So this is a sage activation, and it looks like before taking action, pause and ask yourself, is this choice coming from fear or wisdom? And really, this is just a matter of pausing, like taking a second, taking a pause, taking a breath. And this is even when you're just in a conversation, if you're feeling heated, if you're feeling frustrated, with life in general, it's a great skill to just pause, touch your fingertips for a minute, count your breath for 4 seconds, and ask, what action would my sage take here. Visualize your sage leading the way calmly and confidently. Just visualize yourself. And you can even visualize your saboteur in your brain. Start to visualize these parts of your brain as separate from yourself. There is a saboteur in your brain. It's not you. And realize that these thoughts aren't you. It's not a part of you. And your saboteur, it's not reality. And your sage, it's wise. It's your friend. It can really help you and guide you. And you can just take a moment, take a pause. And this can really help activate the sage's ability to take a thoughtful, decisive action that's aligned with your values. You can really learn to act the way that you want to act, make decisions that you want to make. So we have talked about some actual hands-on ways to quiet those saboteurs, those very real thoughts that can trick you into thinking they are a reality. So remember, there are 5 sage powers, and I just want to take a look at what that might look like in your life or in your business. And I'll share a little bit what it looks like in my business right now. So this is a hypothetical, but let's look at what empathize could look like in a business. So this is kind of a practice / hypothetical, but imagine that you sell a product and someone buys it. They are unhappy with the product and they go on social media. They make a post about it and they blast, they're sharing about the product and how terrible it is and don't go buy this product. This is terrible. They're swearing about it. And there's even a few people like, that's terrible in the products. I can't believe it. Oh my gosh. Obviously, you're feeling a lot of things. You're feeling embarrassed. You're feeling upset. The saboteur is going to come out strong, real strong. There's a lot of the saboteur. There's a few saboteurs that are going to come out. But some thoughts are like, that is so rude. Okay, they should have come to me. How dare they? Yeah, right. Like they could make a product that's better, the judge. They should have come to me and addressed the problem. I would have taken care of it. And then if it were me, I'd be like, there's nothing wrong with the product. Everyone else in the world loves it. They're the first to ever complain. Clearly they're in the wrong. Yeah, all these different thoughts. So that's a saboteur, very judgy, very defensive. Now, inner sage, let's go with having empathy. What if I were to wonder, my goodness, I wonder if they're going through something right now. Maybe they're hurting. Maybe financially things are rough. There could be so many things going on. Maybe they actually did have a bad experience with the product. Maybe it wasn't what they were expecting. How could I make this right? How could I show up with love and empathy? Let me reach out to them privately. Let me offer them a refund. Ask what I can do to make this situation right. I can let this person know that they are cared about and that their concerns matter to me. Then I can explore. How I could make this situation right. I can be innovative. I can really think creatively to help find solutions for this person. I can navigate. I really want to navigate how I can align my actions with being honest and true and how I want to show up. And then activate. If they really are that upset and my actions are, okay, I'm not going to show up in a nasty way. That is not the action I'm going to take. I will take care of the situation in a way that I feel is fair. If they're really that upset with it, I will give them a refund. I will take action in a way that I feel is honest and fair and with empathy. So that is the sage showing up. Now you can see, and I've gone through it. I have gone through the struggle where I ping pong back and forth between how dare they? They don't deserve a refund. They got the product, maybe they're just taking advantage and they always get that. They're ripping people off, I've gone through it. And then I feel the higher inner sage where I'm like, what what's the point, Elizabeth? What is the real value here? Am I really going to have to close my doors if I show some empathy to the one random person who's really upset? Am I really going to lose business if there's one random person or, two random people who are, is it really going to look bad on me if there's this person over here online that thinks I'm bad? No, it's okay. So having some empathy, that's the inner sage. That's having empathy in that situation. So that's just one example. But there's, I'm sure you can think of examples if you are a business owner that you could share, where you could use empathy. Now I'll share from my personal business what I'm exploring right now. So just had a coaching call with Lindsay and I debated, do I share this? Do I not? But whatever. If there's one thing you've learned about me, I don't hold back. All right. So, I'm really debating what to do in my business moving forward. So I'm talking with Lindsay about what to do. And I'm really exploring different options. And she said, let me take the membership idea from you until we meet next time. Every time that word comes up, your body gets tense and tight. And let me just hold that for you. And it was a big relief. I was like, thank you so much. Thank you. And she was like, it's not a no or never, but let me just hold that for you. And right now I want you to explore. Be just like a child, and I'm very good at exploring. Call that my ADHD, call it whatever. I love exploring. That's my fun gift. So she's like, just explore all the different options. What could you do, offer, sell, create, whatever, what could you do? Just come up with all the different ideas. So that's my homework assignment, as well as I've got some other assignments as well. I have one person that I'm working with who's been just a unicorn and a heavenly godsend. She's like, write down why she's been so amazing to work with, and why you love working with her. So that'll be fun to do as well. So anyhow, I'm right now in the stage of exploring all, just being curious, right? And I, again, ping pong back and forth between like, this is so fun and like, oh my gosh, I can't think of a thing, So yeah, I'm both excited and terrified to go through that sage. Again, the saboteur and the sage, the conflict between the two. So that's a stage that I'm in right now. And then innovate. There are times in our business where we just have to really think creatively and find solutions. And again, that can be a really fun part of the journey, and it can be really difficult. But to open that and to allow for that and to just really think creatively. Kids are really good at that. At some point, I think going through the system, school, whatever, where we get told so many times, follow the rules, sometimes that can get squashed a little bit. So just kind of tapping into our inner child again and allowing ourselves to think outside the box and just be innovative and creative. And then navigate to really align our actions with our deeper purpose and values. And that's a scary one. We hear so many times like, do your business just like this. Follow, I've got the path. Here's my workbook. Follow exactly what I did. Guess what? Your business will never be just like anyone else's business. You are not like anybody else. That's the scary part. We want someone to tell us what to do. And even Lindsay, when I'm working with her, she's like, I'm not going to tell you what to do. You've got the answers. I was like, what? She's like, I'm here to help you tap into your. I'm like, oh gosh, no, I want someone to tell me, we all want someone to give us the workbook. Tell me and I'm such a follow, I'll follow the steps. Just tell me what to do. We all, it's way easier to just follow what someone else tells us to do. But to trust that we know we have those answers within us. Our souls, our whatever inside of us, we have those answers. We don't need someone else to tell us what to do. We have our values. We know our purpose inside of us. We just need to find that and to navigate that. It's a beautiful, scary thing, but it's in there. And then to activate, take action. Again, scary, but beautiful. So those are the 5 sage powers. And we've gone over some of the ways to tap into, to quiet and hush the saboteurs. And if you want a reminder of what those saboteurs are, you can go back and listen to last week's episode. But these 2 episodes together can really help you tap into some beautiful, deep connection, purpose, beautiful ways to live and connect with people, connect with yourself, a beautiful way to live life. And if you're here listening to this podcast, a beautiful way to create a business that you're most likely looking into if you're listening to the Craft a Career podcast. But, life is meant to be lived. It's meant to have connections with people. It's meant to have joy. And we're on this journey for a purpose. We're here to explore and to grow, to make connections. One day we'll leave this life, and we're here for a short time, and to figure out what we're here for and why we're here, what we're doing. It's a journey, and it's an exciting one to be embraced and to be lived fully. So let's get out and let's live. Let's make an impact and tap into our inner sage and make our life, impactful. So thank you so much for being here on the Craft a Career podcast as a listener. It's been really fun sharing what I'm learning as I go through these practices and this growth. I do plan to take a few weeks off here at the end of the year just to be fully present with my family, enjoy the holidays. I'll be back in the new year in 2025? What year are we going into? But I'm excited to share the things that I'm working on, how I'm growing, the things that I'll be exploring, the innovations, the navigations, all of that I'll be doing. So we'll see you next year. And thanks again for being here on the Craft a Career podcast.